Welcome to Buckmasters Basics. We got our good buddy Gary Cornum here with Sevr Broadheads. Want to cover mechanical broadheads for you guys today. I've learned a lot about mechanicals over the years, and the biggest thing for me is actually learning how they work. So we brought Gary in today to kind of help us out a little bit on this. Gary, how do mechanical broadheads work, and what are some of the older styles of mechanical versus the newer styles, and what has made them better over the years?
Yeah, if you go back, mechanicals have been around, 20, 30 years now. Mm-hmm. And some of the early designs, they deployed from the front, mm-hmm. and that took a lot of energy. So, that could hurt penetration, and they've come a long way since then. Mm-hmm. Today, we've seen innovations in terms of the way the blades deploy from the rear now. And that saves a lot of that energy of having to open those blades. They're really working with, just with the shot itself as those blades come in and open from the back. And that was really a huge game changer when we saw those come onto the market. Another innovation is the blades. If you look at most mechanicals, those blades are either wholly contained or mostly contained inside the ferrule. Mm-hmm. And that really helped with the accuracy too. Right. So they become more accurate, and the rear deploy, there's an effect on those rear deploy heads that a lot of times that when the mechanicals are opening, that the hide will stretch over the top of the broadhead.
Right.
And so sometimes you get like say you're shooting a 2-inch like this one here, you'll get a 3-inch entry one because of the way that hide folds over it. And then the blades opening from the rear, you get a huge cut that way too. So that was kind of just a side benefit from these rear deploys, as you see these great big massive entrance holes. But they generally deploy with these deployment arms like that, coming from the rear, the blades opening and then coming from the rear. Mm-hmm. So it's just working with the shot so much better.
Is that the reason why, I know a lot of times, or early on, a lot of the mechanical broadheads, you didn't see a huge entry wound? And was it because they were more of the traditional fold-back style of broadhead, so that the broadhead didn't actually open until it got inside the animal, versus a rear deploy? From what you're saying, it sounds like it's fully deployed before it ever goes into the animal itself.
Yeah, and then that hide will bend a little bit and stretch over the top of the broadhead,
right? So
that when the hide springs back, you've got this
huge entry.
Yeah, so the design of the rear deploy has helped that out a lot. And I don't think that's what engineers were really seeking after, but it was it was just kind of a benefit that came along with the territory when these came onto the market. And we also talked about how the blades sit inside the ferrule. Mm-hmm. Like on this one here, you can see the deployment arms are still exposed, but the blades themselves are inside the ferrule. That really helps out a lot with accuracy.
Right.
So you get that, you set up your bow with field points, you get yourself to where you're confident, and then you can put on your broadhead and have it basically be turnkey. You're ready to go. Just screw it on, and it'll fly right there with your field points in most cases.
Right. Okay. So we understand the rear deploy. We understand the traditional foldback. Part of this is, how does it work? So, and for me, I'm one of those people to where the more I understand about how a product actually works, the more successful and the more confident I am in shooting, and the more confidence I have in the product itself. What makes this broadhead open?
Yeah, so this particular broadhead here has the deployment arms right up here. Mm-hmm. So as that tip gets to the animal, the resistance going through that hide will push on those deployment arms, and immediately the blades begin to open.
I got you.
And then once the deployment arms are all the way back, now the blades are fully deployed.
I got you.
And you can see it takes very little energy. I can just do it with a couple of fingers with hardly any resistance at all, because those blades are coming forward, and it's just the resistance of those deployment arms.
So the force of the air as the broadhead enters the animal actually catches the shoulders on the front, or the deployment arms, I think is what you call them, causes it to open. Mm-hmm. Do the blade angles have anything to do with penetration, or obviously the wider it opens, the bigger the hole?
There's some broadheads will pivot, like this one does. This design particularly is locked in, but it also pivots.
I got you.
Some of the broadheads will lock open, but they do not pivot. The pivoting really helps in the penetration.
I got
So
you.
let's say this one. I'll just use this as an example. The broadhead's flying through and it encounters a bone. The broadheads that pivot will pivot away from that bone
Instead of trying to
and then come back to position. So that the penetration that you're asking
Right,
about,
right.
that can really be a huge benefit too when you have those pivoting arms like that.
Okay, cool. Well, guys, I hope that helps out. I hope that answers some questions on how mechanicals actually work and how they operate and just some basic fundamentals of mechanical broadheads themselves. And be sure to tune in for more Buckmasters Basics videos. We're going to be trying to bring more to you throughout the year.